Hey guys, uh, glad to see you all again. We're getting back to my morning videos. I was away for I think 5 or 6 months, maybe half a year, but now I'm back, so I will try to be with you every week, maybe a few times, and we're going to talk again about software development. You see the different backgrounds. I will try to be more creative on the background, but let's focus on the content. As before, I was trying to tell you real stories from my real life, where I work, what I do, my real projects, and now I work in a quite interesting group of software developers, project managers, and in a company, in a quite big enterprise. And I, face now a lot of things which I haven't seen before in my life, which I didn't know before, how enterprise culture of software development actually clashes, and very often clashes, with the mindset of open source developers like myself. I was, as you know, I was doing a lot of open source before and freelance work and working on my own, and now I see how this philosophy of being on your own and being an open source developer can actually stay together with the culture of a large enterprise, where there are multiple levels of management, multiple levels of technical decision makers, and so on. And it is difficult. And open source is the philosophy which is not so many programmers inside a large company can actually understand, and do understand, because they never done any open source before. And now my job is to help them understand what open source is for, actually help the management also understand what open source is for. And I wrote a few articles recently on the blog about open source and how it's important for a large company to be in the market of open source, to be in this territory. But still, the mindset of people, the way people understand software development and business of software development is very traditional. Let's put it this way. And now it's my job to explain, like I said, to explain these management people what open source is for. And I can share you my problems to entertain you. So my key point, the main message which I deliver to my managers, to people who make business decisions about why open source is necessary for traditional development, for traditional business, is that I tell them that I believe that programmers who work in open source, who know how to do open source development, who are active on GitHub, GitLab, whatever, they are better developers. That's the message I'm trying to deliver. I'm saying that those who know how to deal with the community of open source, how to deal with problems of open source, they are more professional. And in order for programmers to be more professional, the open source is the best pill, to take. It's the best training. It's the best place how to grow your skills. And I'm mostly talking about soft skills, but not only, also these hard skills. So when you take a traditional developer, like somebody who has no idea how GitHub ecosystem works, and you put that person into GitHub ecosystem and keep that person there for like half a year or a year, asking that person to develop something which is open, and to be in communication with open source developers, that person starts to grow professionally, and quite fast. And it becomes in some time a different person, a different engineer, an engineer of a much higher level. That's the point. And that's what I'm saying to managers. And you can try the same. I'm sure most of you work in organizations and companies, maybe enterprises, and you want, or you may want, to convince your management that some of your projects, or many of your projects, or most of your projects, or all of your projects have to be open source. So talk to them in this way. Tell them that we software developers, we become more professional when we do open source development. So this is like a training platform for us. Why? Because open source is hard to do. That one thing is develop stuff for a group of friends and with a group of friends in the office. And a different story is to develop it for a public community where nobody knows you, nobody respects you, respects your technical decisions, respects your ideas. Nobody listens to you just because you have a title of a senior developer. The open source is where people pay attention to the quality of your technical decisions, to the quality of your code, and that's it. Maybe some reputation on GitHub, maybe sometimes. But in general, they objectively judge you by the decisions, by the technical decisions you make. And you have to deal with that lack of okay, lack of respect, let's put it this way. And you always, every time, every day have to prove that your decisions are correct. And it's tough. And it's tough, and you need to learn your technical skills, your hard skills, and soft skills. You need to know how to convince people in a simple digital discussion when they don't see you, they don't know who you are, they don't know your title. You need to grow your soft skills. How to draw diagrams, how to present yourself in a chat, how to present your code properly, how to explain things in a digital communication channel. So you grow. You have no choice not to grow. You have to, and you will. And that's the key point to the management, to people on the business level who don't know the difference between open source and not open source. They just know that open source and free, and we basically sort of wasting money on open source. So you go and tell them that we're not wasting money. We are training programmers by making them do the open source development. That's what I do. So next time I'll tell you more about my experience of how we get there, and we are getting there, and I'm like every day trying to deal with this situation of convincing people that open source is actually a great philosophy of software development and a great way to grow business-wise for an enterprise. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.